Five Nights at Freddy's 2 releases in just a couple of weeks, so I thought it'd be fitting to take a look back at the first movie and see if it still holds up over 2 years later. If you've taken a look at my channel at all, it's probably pretty easy to tell that I'm a huge fan of Five Nights at Freddy's. And although my interest has waned a little bit since Steel Wool took over taking the games, I still have a love for the franchise, as I've been keeping up with it for 11 years? Wow, I'm getting old. So anyway, today we're throwing it back to Koopa Kaper Season 1 with a Five Nights at Freddy's focused video. The movie is pretty divisive, with most FNaF fans loving it, general moviegoers enjoying it, but critics thinking that it's pretty bad. Where do I stand on it? Well, it's complicated. The first couple times I watched the movie, I thought the only reason that I liked it was because I was a big FNaF fan. But after my most recent rewatches, I think it actually stands on its own as a film, though it is far from perfect. So, without further ado, let's review Five Nights at Freddy's. Spoilers, obviously. First, I just want to talk about how refreshing it is to watch a big IP movie made in this decade that, actually looks like a real movie. So many of these big studio movies today end up looking like gray, washed out, Captain America Civil War airport scene slop. So it's really nice to be able to see some actual saturated colors from a video game movie. It's crazy that there are movies with like 10 times the budget that look 100 times worse than this. Sorry, Wicked, you were enjoyable, but the visuals left a lot to be desired. The animatronics look really good too. Most of the time. There are a lot of shots with them that look weird, and I definitely don't think they look perfect. Their legs and torsos are weirdly short, almost definitely because they were made to fit the costume performers, but they just throw the entire suit into disarray and they look odd. I mean, look at how big the pelvis area is compared to the torso and legs. There's also this weird, incredibly noticeable seam around Chica's face that just doesn't look right. Overall though, I'd say they did a pretty good job with the animatronics looks. It's impressive how accurate they got them to look. In general, I think the film looks really good, with actually interesting cinematography and a fairly unique visual style at times. I love this shot towards the beginning of the film when Mike goes to wake up Abby, and we see this shot of him with just the world's holiest socks. And no, I'm not talking about socks worn by Jesus. The shot isn't anything special or impressive, but it tells you a lot about the character without any words. I just overall really love the first act, and I think it's the best part of the movie. The opening scene of not Markiplier getting killed is a nice tone setter. The opening credits are really cool. Mike and Abby's introduction is really well done. I love the scenes in the mall, and especially the scene with Matthew Lillard, who isn't an important character at all, I swear. It's a really solid first act. And can I just say, as the world's #1 FNAF 4 Dream Theory truther, seeing Mike read a book titled Dream Theory within the first couple minutes of the film was like the biggest jump scare of all time. Bigger jump scare than anything that ever happened in the FNAF games. The dream stuff in the movie is really cool too. I think Mike's main motivation of wanting to find out his brother's killer through his dreams is a great way to get him to stay the 5 nights, and also lets us meet the ghost kids, which is awesome. I like that they leave Mike's poster unexplained for a bit. You see it like right at the beginning of the film, but it doesn't get explained until a bit later. It's nice to watch a movie that doesn't just hold its audience's hand the entire time. Not that this is some David Lynch level cerebral esoteric story, it's fairly straightforward, but it has mysteries, some of which aren't even answered in the movie, which is obviously something you'd want when adapting Five Nights at Freddy's, one of the most notoriously convoluted stories with mysteries from a decade ago still not really having a clear answer. But if we're gonna talk about how this film adapts Five Nights at Freddy's, I guess I have to be actually negative now, because it's time to talk about the horror part of this horror movie. Yeah, this is like the biggest complaint you hear people levy against the film, and it's for a good reason. For adapting a game with one of the most unique and frankly terrifying atmospheres, one that is still pretty scary to play today 11 years later, you'd think they put more care into making sure the film matches that. There are plenty of videos you can watch that go over why FNAF 1's atmosphere is so great, so I'm not gonna waste a bunch of time describing why. All you need to know is that a lot of it comes down to the presentation of the lifeless animatronics, with them being obscured in shadow a lot of the time, and also completely still with blank, unreadable expressions. How did they adapt that into the movie? Yeah, this is cherry-picking the single worst shot of the entire movie, but it's kind of representative of the film's misunderstanding of the horror of the animatronics. Seeing them glare at the camera evilly while awkwardly crouching down just looks bad. I really hate the facial expressions that the animatronics make in a lot of the scenes too. The glowing eyes don't help either. That being said, there are a couple of scenes that actually do the animatronics justice scariness-wise, but they're few and far between. It's also really weird how much action they give to Carl the Cupcake of all characters. However, I'm not one of those squares that hates the way the animatronics act in the middle of the film. I love the fort scene, and Bonnie falling off the chair and giving a thumbs up is probably my favorite joke in the whole movie. I like that the animatronics are really just kids being compelled by Afton to kill. It's pretty subversive for a horror movie. I get why people who went into this expecting a scary animatronic movie were disappointed, but I don't care, it's cool. I actually like that this one is a bit more lighthearted, because it seems like FNaF 2 is going to have a larger focus on the horror, so the movies can get scarier as the characters delve deeper into Afton's crimes and the butterfly effect they created. I think it'll work a lot better for people once the whole trilogy is out, if what I think they're going for is correct. There were some real deep cuts in the movie too. Chica's Magic Rainbow making an appearance is really funny. The use of Shadow Freddy is incredibly odd, and seeing Sparky the dog in an official piece of FNaF media is surreal, as I remember seeing the fake screenshot back in 2014. I thought I was losing my mind in the theater. Fan service like that just gets me, I don't know why. When MatPat appeared and said, "It's just a theory," the whole theater cheered. It was crazy.
Hello, Internet! Game theory.
That being said, it does kind of take me out of the movie a little bit, but it's not so bad. There are so many little references scattered all over this film, and as a longtime fan, I ate it up. Now, let's talk about the characters. First, Mike. On my first couple watches, I didn't like Josh Hutcherson's performance. I felt like he came across more as bored and uninterested than tired. But again, on my recent watches, I grew more fond of it, and I think he does a very solid performance. He's a great protagonist, and I love the scenes in his dreams. They're really cool conceptually, especially with the ghost children. I also really like his relationship with Abby. It feels fairly realistic, with them arguing yet obviously caring for each other quite a lot. The conflict between them also leads to the introduction of one of the movie's main themes, that being the idea of pictures being important to children. With that, of course, coming back a couple times in the third act, both with Abby scribbling out of Mike's face causing the animatronics to turn on him, and with Afton's drawing being what controls the animatronics, with Abby replacing it with one of her own. I love full circle stuff like that.
Symmetry, my friend!
The movie's pretty good at doing full circle things, like
You only have to worry about one thing, keeping people out and keep the place tidy.
That's two things.
You had one job, keep him in the dark and kill him if he got too close.
That's two jobs.
It's a pretty funny line, and this movie is actually pretty funny. I especially love the running gag of Balloon Boy appearing in different places. I also really love the reveal that Abby's friends, the ones that Mike called not real in the beginning of the film, turning out to be the ghost children. Cool as hell twist. And the reveal is done amazingly too, with the drawings we saw her make at the beginning of the film already containing the Freddy Fazbear characters. There's also Vanessa, who is probably my least favorite of the three main characters. I'm not the biggest fan of her performance, to be honest, but I find the actual character itself pretty compelling. The traumatized daughter of Afton who acts as an unwilling pawn to him is really cool, and I hope the guy from the FNaF 2 trailer doesn't turn out to be Michael Afton or whatever. Because I think Vanessa has the potential to be the Michael equivalent, with him also being the child of Afton, who starts as his helper, but then decides to betray him and dedicate his life to undoing his father's many crimes. You can already see Vanessa going down this path, and it seems that they're going to give her a lot more focus in the sequel, so hopefully she does continue down that path. And now we've reached the best performance in the whole film. Matthew Lillard as William Afton. I love his over-the-top, campy performance. It fits Afton so well, and he just steals the spotlight in the scenes he's in, especially as Springtrap. He's so auriful. His dialogue is kinda cheesy, but it's clearly an intentional choice, as Afton has always been shown to be a guy who loves to give a performance, as well as the movie also being fairly campy throughout. That being said, the Springlock scene itself isn't nearly as impactful or earned as it was in FNaF 3. We had 3 whole games setting it up originally. FNaF 1 introduced, well, a lot, but most notably the missing children's incident. FNaF 2 showed us the killer in the death minigames, Purple Guy. Then there's FNaF 3, spending most of its phone calls setting up the Springlock suits while we face off against Springtrap, which naturally poses the question, is this an animatronic or someone who got trapped in the Springlocks? And the post-night minigames continue the story of Purple Guy, and at the end of the game, we learn that Springtrap is Purple Guy trapped in the suit, and the children's souls go free. It's a fairly meticulously set up mystery and payoff that works really well in the games that isn't really recaptured in the film. It definitely sets it all up adequately, but it isn't enough to reach the same height as the scene in the games. And him saying,
I always come back.
feels pretty shoehorned in, to be honest. I really wish they spent more time setting up the mystery of Freddy's. I know there were a lot of deleted scenes for the film, and one of them was Mike watching old VHS tapes about the investigation after the missing children's incident. If they kept that scene in, it definitely would have helped a lot. The other minor characters are pretty good too. I like the group of minor antagonists, those being Max the babysitter, her brother, and Aunt Jane. They're all pretty funny and have their place in the film, though I don't think they're anything special, except Aunt Jane, who turns into the Mimic for some reason. She's great. I can't tell if I hate the lawyer Doug or not. Every time I watch the movie, I flip between finding the jokes with him annoying and finding them funny. I don't know why. I already mentioned Matt Pat's cameo, but there's also a cameo from Corey X Kenshin, who I never watched, so it doesn't really do anything for me. He has some funny scenes though. There's also minor Easter eggs of FNaF tubers like Dawko and DJ Sturf, but they're just background details. Still cool to see though. Maybe I can get into the third movie somehow. If enough of you campaign to get me in the third movie, I'm sure it'll happen. Everyone watching this, go to the FNaF 2 trailer and spam the comments saying to let me be in the third one. I'm sure all 2 of you watching will make a huge difference. Hopefully one of you is Scott Cawthon. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the FNaF movie. Let me know in the comments your opinions, and hey, it's me, your friend, Pickle Rick, back again. Oh no. Didn't I tell you to make a Rick and Morty video? What is this Five Nights at Freddy's furry crap? Yeah, well, you wanted me to make a long video, and those take a while to make, and I can't leave my subscribers without a video for that long. Alright, I guess that makes sense. Well, I guess I'll leave you to it. Bye, I'm Pickle Rick! I'm Pickle Rick. Alright, like the video and subscribe, I'm out of here.